So, welcome, Ms. Stahl. I'm very pleased to meet you, and I'm very happy to announce the Romanian public that your book in Romanian it's called Vindecarea copilului interior. It's translated into Romanian. I read this book with a lot of interest, and I think it's a very, very interesting and good useful book for us. So thank you for having you here, and let us know more about the book.
Oh, thank you so much, and thank you for having me. And please call me Stefanie.
Okay, Stefanie. I am Gabriela.
Gabriela, okay. I'm very happy that my book is finally translated in Romanian.
I think it's translated into 21 languages, if I'm right.
26, meanwhile, 26, I don't know.
26, oh my goodness. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So I told you I read the book. I'm a psychotherapist as well, and a psychologist, and I do a lot of counseling for parents and children at school and all kind of things, you know, as any other psychologist or psychotherapist. And I really appreciated the way you approach the subject. So I just want to get into it as quickly as we can. So the main idea I got out of this, out of the book, one of the most, or the main ideas is that most of the things that happen to us during childhood shapes the way we will be as adults. So I just wanted to ask you, how did you come to this conclusion in your practice?
Well, actually, it is not my conclusion, but it's, it's all the science is about at the moment. You know, we have a lot of scientific research. And yes, it says that when we are born, our brain is only to 25% developed. Mm-hmm. And so in the first 6 years, are very, very important, you know, for these imprints in the brain. That means for all the synapses which will be connected in the brain, you know. Mm-hmm. You can imagine them as highways in the brain where, you know, all these feelings and thoughts always run through. And so from mom and dad, we learn what we are worth, you know, if we are worth it to be feeded, if we are loved, and what we have to do for love, you know. So actually we learn from our parents our self-esteem, and whether it is high or whether it is low, in the way they behave towards us.
Mm-hmm. And the messages they send us, right?
The messages, yes, but the messages they send us are not necessarily deliberately. That means they actually often don't want to send us a certain message. But for example, when they are overwhelmed, when they are stressed out, and they just can't care that much for their child as they actually wanted to, because they are stressed, maybe they're more children, maybe both parents have to work, and so on and so on. The little child doesn't think and feel, oh, mom and dad, they're really stressed and they shouldn't got so many children. But the little child thinks and feels, I'm not enough, I'm too much here, I'm a burden, you know. That's the way these deep-rooted beliefs develop. That the child comes into the world, and mommy and daddy are always great in the eyes of the little child. And if they make mistakes, the little child always feels and thinks, it's my mistake. You know, I'm guilty. I'm the wrong person. Not mom, not dad, but I'm wrong here. And that is the way these deep feelings of inferiority can be deeply imprinted in us. And because the brain is developing these imprints are deep in our head, in our system. These are psychological patterns. And when we grow up unconsciously, we all take these imprints with us. And these imprints are the lenses you look through the world. When you have developed a self-esteem that feels like I'm not worth, I'm not enough, I'm inferior, then you think and you look at the world that you think, oh, the others are better than me, they are stronger, they're greater than me. So it shapes really the view of the world that you have.
Yes, exactly. What I wanted to say, in your practice at your office, where you work with your clients, you work a lot with this concept. You are working a lot with the inner child, with the child inside of them.
Yes, of course, because I think this inner child is a very, very good metaphor for all these imprints that we develop in our childhood while our upbringing. Now I'm word is lacking. I'm talking about the shadow child. The shadow child is stands for the things which weren't so good, for the injuries, because there are no perfect parents and there are no perfect childhoods.
Exactly.
Everybody has a little burden, everybody has a little injury from his childhood. And the sun child stands for the things which were good in childhood, but, and that is very, very important, the sun child also stands for all the things we can rebuild as we are adult now. Now we can shape our lives, we can come to new attitudes, we can come to new behavior. Now we have a big impact and influence on our adult life. So the sun child is the target version of myself, the vision where I want to go to, the target. And then we have as the third part, the inner adult. And the inner adult represents our clear thinking, our clear judging, clear thinking. It has nothing to do with feeling, but only with thinking and clear thinking. Yes.
So I like a lot the way you made your concept, the shadow child and the light child. And I wonder if you met people who said, oh, I don't have any shadow child, or people who said, oh, I was so aggressed, my childhood was so bad, I don't think I have any light child.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Actually, I never met anybody, but that is maybe due to my job, because the people come to me on seminars or for psychotherapy because they have some trouble with their shadow child. But there are quite a few people who just don't care about psychology and self-reflection. And I want to make a point that I think that is very, very important for everybody, because the more you know about yourself, the less you run the risk to put all your inner problems out to the others, People who are difficult are not only difficult with themselves, but they are also difficult with other people. So I think it's a necessity that everybody cares for his inner child and for his imprints, just not only to become happier, but to become a better person. And the sun child, the second part of your question was if there are people who say, oh, my childhood was so burdened, it was so dark, it was so awful, I can't see any sunshine there.
Yes.
I can comfort these people by saying that it's okay, because you're adult, and we both can develop a lot of things now in your adulthood, of new beliefs, of we can look for your strengths in the adulthood. We can look for your resources and everything. So today you have all the power to build,
yes,
you know, for yourself a new self-image, which is much more realistic, much
yes.
more realistic than the self-image you gathered by your parents.
So this is what I like the most at your book, and this is why I put this question, because you really give hope. However, someone can feel bad, or oh, I had a bad childhood. In your book, I can find hope. Okay, it was bad, but it's not too late. It's not too late. I have hope, and I can rewrite my beliefs, my experiences, and find some light, find the sun child or the sun person inside of me. But my next question is, parents, please.
That I interrupt you, that is exactly the point. That is exactly the point, because many people think to change themselves or to alter some, you know, deep-rooted attitudes and beliefs would be very difficult and would be a long way. But that is belief as well, because I know so many people who have helped themselves with my book, and the change was quite quick, within some weeks, within some months. You know, if you really start and start to take your responsibility, and if you get the right clue, the right idea how to make it, you know, in which direction you should go. And I think my book is very clear structured.
Yes.
You know,
It's a perfect structured.
Yeah.
Yes, so, it's a perfect structured book. I really enjoyed the structure, the hope I find, the practical exercises, and also the way we can rewrite our beliefs. Because, you know, I don't know how is in your country. Here, sometimes people think, not all the people, of course, some of the people think that these bad things that happened to them made them strong, made them be the person who they are today. So they are afraid of losing those beliefs because they will turn bad, you know. The childhood was bad, but they think they are good adults now because their childhood was bad. So in your book is the perfect structure to see how it was, how it can be, and practical exercises, what I'm really able to do. So I think it's an amazing book.
Thank you very much.
Yes. I wanted to ask you also, some parents are afraid of every single mistake. They will say, oh my God, I don't know how to treat my child because I will do something wrong, and my child will have a shadow child and a bad adulthood. So my question is, what are the real basic needs, the main basic needs that a child needs to have them met, so parents will not be afraid at a single small mistake?
Yeah, they really shouldn't worry about single small mistakes. Children are tremendously generous with their parents, and in psychology we say parents have to be good enough, just good enough. They don't need to be perfect. And the most important thing, the basic of all, is that the child is loved, that they really do love their child and that they care for it. Particularly the first years. I guess it's in Romania not very different than here in Germany. We have a strong tendency that the children, the babies, go too early to the how you say, not kindergarten, you know?
Yeah, the creche.
Too early in the creche, in the daycare. And if you have any means that the child could stay at home the first 3 years, it's very, very good for the development of the brain, you know.
So would it be bad if they go, or is just recommended not to go?
It is, you know, the little children from 1 to 3 years, they have no means to regulate stress. And they need very, very, very close persons like mom and dad to help them to cool down, to regulate stress. And foreign persons, and these are in this crash because they are not really, even if they go every day there, they are not really persons that are close to them. They can cool down the stress, and that means for the adult people that they have a big problem with stress regulation, also still as adults. And that is not my personal opinion, but this is scientific research. You know, we can look into the brain of children, and if you look at them outwardly, they seem to be calm. You know, they adapt somehow, but in the brain they're really stressed and completely overwhelmed. So if the parents have the means to say, come on, we put them to kindergarten a little bit later, from 3 years on, it's fine. But apart from that, love your child, you know, be sensitive to his need, you know, be aware what does it need in the moment. And on the other hand side, support your child also for his autonomy, so it may have also an own will, that it has the feeling, well, a relationship is nothing I have completely adapt to. I have to adapt to my parents' needs, but a relationship is something I can create with, you know. So there are two basic needs: the need for attachment and security, loved, and the other need is for autonomy and some control, that because children want also to explore their surrounding, and they want to get big, and they want to grow, and that the parents also support this need for autonomy and control. That's all, basically. Make a little.
So it's not a lot. They need a presence and a love and attachment, and just leave them a little bit autonomous and feel in your own control. So mainly children do not need all those stuff we are thinking. Food, nice clothes, a nice car, nice house, because we think of them all the time. But in fact, they just need presence and love.
Yeah, that's much more important.
That's much
more important, you know, that somebody's there who's caring, that the parents are not so stressed, because everyone knows when you are stressed out, everybody has experienced that. When you are stressed and your time pressure and this and that, and you're overwhelmed by all the work you have to do, then you fall back very easily to old patterns, and you become more aggressive, and you lose temper easily, and you don't have the patience, and so on. So it's very, very important for parents that they fill up their batteries, you know, that they do something that they feel good, you know, that they have their spare time and their holiday, and, you know, to relax a little bit.
Yes, of course. So I wanted to ask you something very important. For me, I'm working in a school as a school counselor also, not only as a psychotherapist. And what we want to do starting from this year is to put our values together, the values of the children and the values of the teacher and the values of the parents, to see what are our main values. So our community will be a nice community. So this is what I found in your book, that values are very important. But from my practice, I've seen that people just choose from their from a list. Like I get a list, and it's written honesty and being brave and friendship and family, and I choose what's important for me. And finally, it is not my real values. So how do we know what are our real values? I found it in your book, but I'm just curious if you could tell me how people, what exercise, what can they do to know what are their real values?
Well, the real values often pop up when they are hurt.
Uh-huh.
You know, you can think about what are typical situations when I get angry.
Yes.
Or when I feel embarrassed or whatever, you know. But mostly anger. When values are hurt, people get angry. That is the reason why political discussions are often so hot-headed, because it's all about values, you know. Behind this political talk, are deep-rooted values, you know.
Yes.
Am I more the value for tolerance and openness, you know, and integration, or is my main value security? And, you know, that I can rely that everything stays as it is. So when you think, what makes me angry, you are quite quickly, quite quickly come to your deep beliefs. That is one approach. The other could be, what were the family values?
Mm-hmm.
How I was brought up? What was very important to my parents? And the last thing is, when you have these lists, intuitively, you know, take 10 of a long list, 10, and then reduce 10 values into 5, then you have only 5 more, and then just take the value, for example, freedom, and just get into your feeling and feel, how does it feel here, freedom? And very important question, how can I live this value concretely in my life? You know, what does it mean for my life if freedom is a very high value? So you put it down to action, you know, what does it mean on the concrete, you know, level for me to live this worth value?
Yes, I must confess that I didn't know from the beginning what are my values. I just imagined my values, but I was not for sure. So for me, it worked by being heard, you know? So whenever somebody did not take responsibility, I was very angry. I was hurt. So now I for sure know that responsibility is one of my main values. So this is what I heard in you. I found in your book, and I really liked, because I think people do not know exactly how to choose or to know what are their values. For me, it was a very practical book, but I must ask you the reason you decided to write this book. Was it for a self-help book? If I read it, I can help myself? Or was it more like an opportunity or an inspiration so people go to therapy or counseling? What was your reason?
I have to admit that it wasn't my first book. It was my 5th book. So it was not the first book I've been writing. So it's long. I've made a development as an author, and in my psychotherapies, in my work as a psychotherapist, you know, I develop and it come clearer and clearer. And my passion, or maybe even my vocation, to get this very big word, is I'm really interested in the structure. You know, seemingly people are so individual, and seemingly they have so very, very diverse problems. But at the end, it comes down to psychological structures which are always the same. For example, like our need for attachment and security, and like our need for autonomy and control, and like our need for self-esteem. You know, everybody is striving for self-esteem. These are basic needs everybody has, and I understand my work as a psychotherapist and as a book author to make structures for everybody very clear, because when the structure is clear, almost any problem can be handled. I like to compare it to music, you know.
Yes.
Music. There are billions of music pieces, you know, through all history, through all countries, to all genres of music, but music consists only of 12 tones, and every piece of music can be analyzed on these 12 tones, you know. So it's with psychology as well. Seemingly, the problems are very, very diverse and very individual, but at the end, it comes down just to some psychological structures. And that's what I find so interesting. And people can deal with it. And that is, I think, that is the one of the main parts that the book is so successful.
Yes, it is. You know, it's translated into Romanian, and we are trying to let our Romanian public know about this book. But I must confess to you that there are already a lot of Romanian people who know about this book. And
what?
Yes, really. Of course, out of my friends, because most of my friends are psychologists, and at a quick search, I saw some of my psychologist friends, they were mentioning your book.
Cool.
So, yes.
Oh,
so
I'm happy.
Yes, so nice. They probably already read it. They've already read it in the English version. And I saw it like in 2019 or so, 1 year, 2 years ago. So most of the psychologists or most of my psychologist friends already know about your book. So wow. So I'm pretty sure that because of your structure, I found the same thing. I start from A and I go to Z and I understand every step. This is the most important thing for me, as not as a psychologist, as a common reader. You know, I don't have any knowledge about psychology, so it's very hard for me to understand. But I have the concept and I have the exercise. I have the concept and I have the exercise. This is exactly how your book looks like. And I think it is exactly what common readers need, not psychologists, not people who already have knowledge about psychology. Okay, so Stefanie, my last question for you is about the way the book ends with your encouragement to allow ourselves to feel our inner child and to be ourselves, to be proud of who we are. So I just want to ask you how hard it is in your practice, of course, for people to really let go, to be themselves and forget a little bit about their old beliefs.
Well, actually, it's not so hard. It's all about what does it mean to be yourself? What does it really mean? First of all, it means that you get to an inner attitude that you are okay as you are. What doesn't mean that you have to be perfect. What doesn't mean that you can still develop, you know, you can develop further and further, and you should, but that you accept yourself, that you are what you are. That's the first step. And that includes that you have a quite good connection to your inner feelings, you know, that all the feelings that you have are basically allowed. That doesn't mean that you don't regulate them. That doesn't mean that you just act out all your feelings. Of course, you have to have a certain regulation of your feelings, but basically they are all allowed, and that you connect to your feelings and to your needs. And when you connect to your feelings and needs, the next step is that you don't suppress them all the time. And when you are in any relationship, not only love relationship, but also with other people, that you can make a free decision whether you want to stick to your need and say, you know, I would like to do this and that, or that's what I don't want, that you feel free most of the times. Of course, there are certain boundaries and necessities, especially in professional life, in your professional life, but that in a healthy frame, you can utter your needs, that you can stand up for you, you know, that you can adapt to other people on the one hand side, but also can stand up for your own needs and your own emotions and your rights on the other hand side, so that you are in a good balance between your basic need for attachment. Attachment means you have to cooperate, you have to adapt sometimes, you have to make compromises, and your basic need for autonomy. And that means that you know what you want, and that you can stand up for yourself, and that you can set healthy boundaries. And that's all. That's all to be authentic, you know, that you don't over adapt to other people's needs, you know, because you're too afraid of being rejected, and to avoid being rejected, that you adapt and adapt and adapt. And then you lose yourself. Then you're not authentic anymore.
I want to thank you for something. As you already say, oh, you're talking so nice about my book, but I really enjoyed your book. And not only because it's structured, I want to thank you for something in it. I will show it to you right now. And with your permission, I would like to use it in my practice, if you allow me to use it. So the thing that I want to thank you for is that you put this image in the book, you know, the shadow child, and then you get with the structure. This is what happens in the beginning, and this is what's next, and you do this exercise, and you get this, and then you do that, and you get this, and in the end, you just put the image. Wait a second, of
some child,
yes. So not only the book is structured, the book shows you the exercise, it shows you the beginning and the possible good ending. So with your permission, I would like to use this
of course.
In my...
Go for it, of course. I hope if the book will be successful in Romania, I have a very, very nice workbook.
Yes.
I don't have it here. I have a big workbook where you can write in all the exercises.
Oh, and very nice.
Different exercises. It leads the reader through the workbook, and it's a big book, and you can put down your notes and make your exercises in the book. And if the Romanians will like the book, maybe the workbook will be translated as well.
I hope, because I think what is needed, I don't know, only in Romania, probably worldwide, what is needed is the exercises, you know. There are plenty of information, plenty of books, it's full of information, and the workbook, I think, in my opinion, would be excellent for us who are practicing psychologists, psychotherapists, but also for common readers. So in the end, if you just want to say anything to the Romanian public, just feel free to...
Yeah, sure. Yes. First of all, I'm very, very happy and grateful that you listened to our little podcast here, to our little interview. And I would be very happy if the book could help many, many Romanian people to become happier and to lead healthy relationships and just to lead a happy life. I would be really happy if the book would help as many Romanians as it did already help German people.
Yes. So, Stefanie, thank you for the nice interview, for your support, for all the informations, and thank you for the book. This is how it looks, the Romanian version. So thank you for everything, and hopefully we will speak again. We will stay in touch. So
thank you, Gabriela. Thank you for your
Stefanie.
support. Very, very nice.
Thank you. So have a very, very nice evening.
You too. Okay.
See you. Bye.
Bye-bye.